A poor man was married to a beautiful woman. The couple never quarreled, as the husband deeply loved his wife, and she loved him in return. They were very happy together. However, they had a wealthy and handsome neighbor who, upon seeing the poor man's beautiful wife, fell in love with her. "I want to marry her myself," he thought. Every day, while the woman's husband was working in the fields, the rich man visited their home. "You're a beautiful woman," he would say to the poor man's wife, "but your clothes are old. Why doesn't your husband buy you new, pretty clothes? I'm sure he doesn't love you. If he did, he would buy you wonderful clothes. Divorce him and marry me. I will buy you the finest clothes in the land. Then you will be the most beautiful woman in Ethiopia." At first, the woman ignored the rich man, but he came every day, repeating the same words. Eventually, she began to wonder, perhaps my neighbor is right. Why doesn't my husband buy me beautiful new clothes? Maybe he doesn't love me. That night, she spoke to her husband. "Look at me, husband. My clothes are old and ugly. I want new ones. Buy me some new clothes." Her husband smiled gently. "You don't need new clothes. You are the most beautiful woman in the world to me." She was upset. "Don't you love me?" she asked. "If you love me, buy me a new dress." The husband loved his wife dearly and wanted to make her happy. "I have only a little money," he thought, "and I need a new plow. But I want my dear wife to be happy." The next day, he went to the market and bought a new dress for his wife. When he brought it home, she put it on immediately. "Thank you, my dear husband," she exclaimed. "Now I know that you love me." When the rich man came by again, she proudly showed off her new dress. "You see," she said, "my husband loves me very much. He bought me this beautiful new dress." The rich man shook his head. "But a good husband doesn't just buy clothes," he said. "He gives his wife gold. Where is your gold necklace? Where are your gold rings? Why doesn't your husband give you those?" He then opened a box, revealing beautiful gold jewelry. "Look at these," he said. "Divorce your husband and marry me, and I will give you all of this." The woman refused to listen. "Go away," she said. "I love my husband, and he loves me, and we are happy together." But the rich man returned every day, showing her the box of jewels. Eventually, she began to doubt again. Perhaps the rich man is right. Why doesn't my husband buy me gold? Doesn't he love me? That day, she didn't make a fire or cook a meal. When her husband came home late after a long day in the fields, tired and hungry, she said, "There's no dinner for you tonight. You don't love me." "What?" her husband cried. "But my darling, I love you more than anything. You are the most wonderful person in the world." "Then why don't you buy me some gold jewelry?" she demanded. When a man loves his wife, he gives her a gold necklace and rings for her fingers. Her husband looked worried. "I spent money on her new clothes," he thought. "How can I find more for gold? I'll go and see my brother. Perhaps he will lend me the money. I must buy gold for my dear wife. I want her to be happy." The next day, he visited his brother. "Lend me some money, brother," he said, "and I will work for you in your field." "All right," his brother agreed, "but you must work hard. There are many stones in my field, and you must move them all away." The husband agreed and took the money. He went to the market and bought some gold jewelry, then brought it home to his wife. She was very happy. She put the necklace around her neck and the rings on her fingers. "Look at me," she said. "Am I not beautiful?" "You're very beautiful," her husband replied. "If you are happy, I am happy too." She then put her arms around his neck. Thank you, my dear husband," she said. "Now I know that you love me." The next day, her husband went out very early, before the sun had risen. He hurried to his brother's field, which was covered with stones. "I must work very hard now," he thought. I need to start early and finish late to pay off my debt to my brother. Meanwhile, his wife was happily working at home. I'll make a wonderful dinner for my husband tonight, she thought. He gives me wonderful presents and works hard for me. I know that he loves me. Hello? A voice called out. Are you there? The woman went outside and saw her rich neighbor. Ah, it's you, she said. Listen, neighbor, you were wrong about my husband. Yesterday, he bought me this beautiful jewelry. He loves me very much, and I love him. I will not divorce him, and I will not marry you. The rich man was worried. Her husband loves her too much, he thought. If I want her, I must be clever. Finally, he said, Your husband gave you clothes and jewelry, but I can give you more than that. What do you mean? The woman cried. Can your husband perform miracles? The rich man asked. Miracles? No, of course not, the woman replied. Only God can make miracles. Men cannot. But I can, the man said, because I love you. Love can create miracles. If your husband loves you, he can make miracles for you. If you love me, I will make miracles for you. Make a miracle for me now, the woman demanded. I can't, the rich man replied. You must promise to love me first. You must leave your husband and come to me. Then I will perform wonderful miracles for you. The woman said nothing, and the rich man went away. That night, the poor man came home late, tired and hungry. His wife brought water for him to wash and served him delicious food. My poor husband, she thought. He works so hard for me, and he is so tired and hungry. The rich man is foolish. How could my husband perform miracles? It's impossible. But the next day and the day after and the day after that, the rich man came to her house again. Did your husband perform a miracle for you yesterday? He asked. Leave him and love me, and I will create many miracles for you every day. At last, the woman began to listen to him. One day, when her husband came home, she was sad. Wife, dear wife, what is wrong with you? Her husband cried. Are you sick? No, she said. I'm sad because you do not love me. What? Her husband exclaimed. But you know that I love you. I bought you new clothes. I bought you gold jewelry. You're the most precious thing in the world to me. But you don't perform miracles for me, his wife replied. Her poor husband was very surprised. Miracles? Of course. I can't perform miracles, he said. Why do you want a miracle? Who gave you that idea? Our neighbor came to see me today, the woman said. He told me that love creates miracles. He said if a man loves a woman, he will perform miracles for her. Her husband was very worried. That wicked man wants to take my wife, he thought. All this trouble comes from him. When he first came here, she wanted new clothes, then she wanted gold jewelry, and now she wants a miracle. What can I do? If I don't perform a miracle, perhaps my wife will leave me and marry him. The next day, he went slowly to work in his brother's field. I must pray, he thought. Only God can help me now. He looked up to heaven. Oh, Lord God, he prayed. Please help me to perform a miracle. I love my wife, and I want to keep her. Don't let this rich man take her from me. He worked all morning, moving stones from his brother's field. In the middle of the day, he sat down under a tree to rest. A man was already sitting there. Who are you? The poor man asked. I am a wizard, answered the man, and I have a gift for you. Look, here are 2 sticks. They can perform miracles. Miracles? The poor man said, now filled with hope. What kind of miracles? If you touch a person with the first stick, the wizard explained, they will turn into a donkey. The poor man thought of the rich man and smiled. A donkey? That's perfect. And if I touch them with the second stick, what will happen? They will become a person again, said the wizard. The poor man eagerly took the sticks and jumped up. Oh, thank you, my friend, he exclaimed. I prayed to God, and he sent you to me. Now I can keep my wife and punish my enemy." He ran home, calling out, "Wife, come here. I'm going to perform a miracle." His wife came out of the house. "A miracle?" she asked. "What kind of miracle?" "Look," said her husband. He touched her with the first stick, and instantly she turned into a donkey. She tried to speak, but all she could say was hee-haw, hee-haw. Her husband then touched her with the second stick, and she became a woman again. "Husband, that's amazing," she said. "It's a real miracle. How did you do it?" "I prayed to God," her husband replied, "and he helped me. And now, wife, I am going to punish my enemy." "Your enemy?" she asked. "Who is that?" "You know who it is," her husband said, no longer smiling. "It's the rich man, our neighbor. He comes to our house when I'm working in the field. He gives you bad ideas. Ask your husband for new clothes, he says. Ask him for gold jewelry. Ask him for a miracle. Am I right? Did our rich neighbor give you all these ideas?" His wife said nothing. "And did you listen to him?" her husband pressed. She didn't look at him, feeling ashamed. "I'm sorry," she admitted. "It's true. He said all those things. He wanted me to divorce you and marry him, and I listened to him." "And do you want to divorce me and marry him?" her husband asked. She looked at him, her eyes full of tears. "No, dear husband. I want to stay with you forever, and I will never listen to him again." "Then take this stick," her husband said, handing her the first stick. "Touch the rich man with it." But he hid the second stick in the roof. The next day he went to work, and soon the rich man arrived at the woman's house. "Well," he asked her, "can your husband perform miracles yet?" "Yes," she replied, and she touched him with the first stick. Instantly, the rich man turned into a donkey. "Now," said the woman, "you can go to work and help my dear husband." She led the donkey out to the fields, where her husband was working, moving stones from his brother's field. "Ah," he said, "a donkey. Now I can finish the job quickly." From that day on, the poor man gave the donkey many heavy loads to carry. The donkey hauled stones from the fields, took sacks of teff to the market, and brought flour and coffee back home. For many years, the donkey worked for the poor man, who was no longer poor. He was becoming richer with the donkey's help. One day, the poor man looked at the donkey. It was tired and old, standing still with its head bent down. Feeling sorry for it, the man went into his house and brought out the second stick. He touched the donkey with it, and at once the rich man appeared, but he was no longer a handsome young man. He was old, with a bent back, and very, very tired. "You tried to take my wife away from me," the poor man said. "That was wrong. Go home now, and never look at another man's wife again." The rich man went away and never returned, while the poor man and his wife lived happily together for many more years.